Hello. So I'm here with Dave and Jason, who have been a part of the yoga studio going back. We'll talk about what years that was in a little while. But thanks for joining me today. And what's interesting about Dave and Jason is they're yogis, but they're also musicians. So we're going to have a little bit of an angle on obviously yoga, but also how this last year has affected them in terms of this global pandemic and music and gigging and all of that sort of stuff. So welcome to both of you.
Hi,
Thanks
nice
for sparing some time to have a chat with me today. So we're 17 years old, actually officially tomorrow. Yay. And obviously last year when all this happened, I was like, oh, that's it. Bye-bye yoga space. I just couldn't foresee, like how we were going to still be open. My lease was up at the end of December. And I just like, I don't know. I just kind of felt like this is it, the bubble has burst. But we're still here. A year on.
Was that your decision to want to carry that on then when you because I thought, when I remember you saying the lease was up and I was like, oh no, this is going to be so sad.
Yeah, well, it's been a really tough few years, just in terms, I think, in terms of kind of me energy wise, like going through the menopause, and that has such a massive effect on energy and kind of motivation. But also just in terms of like financially, keeping a big studio going and, keeping students motivated and all the marketing, and everything that goes with it. I kind of feel like, most of my life is to do with marketing really, which is kind of the bit of the job that I really don't like. So yeah, there was all of that for the last few years, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to keep it going personally, but then being able to kind of do it online and kind of learning new skills for that and seeing how well it works and seeing how much our community have appreciated it, and it's been okay. Had government help obviously, which has been brilliant, otherwise I definitely wouldn't be open still. So yeah, so we're still here ticking along. I'm very kind of realistic about, I don't know what the future holds. So I just kind of take one day at a time and appreciate each day as it comes, and yeah, so yeah. But can you remember when you first came to the yoga space, when you were first a student there?
For me, it was in 2009, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I'd been practicing transcendental meditation for a while, and then I went traveling in Southeast Asia for 3 months, I think, around, to kind of get out of I'd gone through like a breakup of a relationship and stuff and needed to get away and get change of scene and stuff, and I backpacked around Southeast Asia, and I went to Koh Phangan in Thailand, a place called the Sanctuary.
Okay.
And I'd done a 10-day meditation and yoga retreat there. And there was an Ashtanga class that I didn't know was Ashtanga. And I just was like, whoa, this is amazing. Obviously, on this, like stunningly beautiful island in the sun, and it was like complete paradise vibe. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. But I had this like immediate kind of connection to it. And then when I got back to Leeds, I was looking around. I can't remember. I think it was maybe I'd done some like work with contemporary dancers and stuff. I was asking, and they said, oh, you should go to the yoga space.
Okay.
I can't remember who that was. It kind of told me that. But anyway, and then I went to the yoga space. Had been to some of your classes, and then I went to Joey's class, like my first class with Joey. And then afterwards, he said, "Oh, have you been practicing? How long have you been practicing?" And I said, "Oh, not very long. I've just kind of got into it." And he was like, "All right, okay. Looks like you know what you're doing or whatever." And then he said, "You should come to Mysore." And I said, "What's Mysore?" fateful last words, and he was like, just come tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. And
you went,
and that was it. And then I kind of had this kind of quite deep connection with him, like I'd never had this before with a teacher, where it was like a complete trust and complete surrender. It was weird. It was like, I just knew, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do that. And then I studied with him every day for years and years and years.
And you were there really, like, right at the beginning of Joey then, because I was talking to him the other day, and he's been with us since 2010. So yeah, you were there right kind of at the start of
11 years this January when he started, I think.
That's right. Yeah,
it must have been. And it was like Jason, who else? Claire, I think, was there, wasn't she?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I think Marie. I remember seeing Marie there, and Alan.
Alan.
It was the other way around when you walked in as well. Is that my memory of going in, and the back was the front when it started?
Right.
Oh yeah, it was.
That's
Yeah, I've got a film actually, Dave, of you, like a really early, I think we must have done it in about 2010, 2011, like little promotional movie. I'm going to put that up tomorrow. And you're in it practicing in class. It's a really nice little kind of movie actually, so I'm going to put that up.
So quite a while, good while ago now, but it was amazing. I loved it. And still would love the chance to get back to the yoga space. Have such fond memories of it. It was really, it's completely changed my life. Like, yoga has completely transformed my life.
Oh, so it was, and when did you do your teacher training? You did teacher training, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, I done that, I can't remember, maybe 7 years ago, something like that. In South India, a place called Varkala. That was good. I didn't really get, and it wasn't much benefit on the asana side, because luckily I studied with Joey, but the teacher there was really amazing. He was more interested in the philosophy, so we studied the sutras every day, and it was really he was deeper into the meditation and stuff, so it was a really lovely balance actually, to study all of that stuff in depth, whilst already having, every day we done a Mysore practice, and we done like assisting and that kind of stuff, and then the afternoons were all spent kind of studying and talking and having these discussions. It was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. What about you, Jason? Can you remember what year you started?
I was just trying to think then when Dave was talking, I was like trying to go backwards. I was about 36 because I was in South America.
Okay.
And
so that is what.
So it was, that's sort of about 15 years ago. So it's about 2000 and.
Wow, so really early days.
Yeah, you were there, and I didn't really realize. When I came, it was just like, well, this is just a yoga studio. But I mean, I didn't know you'd only been open a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was busy then. It was just like, this is just like, that hall would often be full. And my memories of the first few classes I went to were with Pete, I think. And again,
Pete.
When you came in.
All right.
And I remember going in, and before we started, he'd be sort of at the desk and signing people in, and then he'd sit down and wait a bit, and he'd sort of do a few postures.
Oh, he would, yeah.
I was like, whoa, what's he doing? That's amazing. and before we started, just completely freaked out. And when I was, I kind of got into it because when I was in South America visiting my brother, I'd started seeing somebody, and it sort of went from there. I don't know. She was into doing yoga, and we both came to the yoga, I think your class actually as well.
Yeah.
And I would wait outside because it was intermediate, which I couldn't do. I'd be outside the door smoking sometimes, waiting. And then I'd go in and do the beginners, and she'd wait for me.
Oh, okay.
That's right at the beginning. And as well, about a year later, I remember having a few one-to-ones with you.
Yeah, you did. I remember you saying to me, right, I want to be able to jump through and jump back. And I was
just like crazy stuff. And
I want to be able to handstand in my vinyasas like David Spencer. And I was I can't do that.
Video, I've actually got it. I saw it the other day. It's a video cassette of the primary series. And I kind of used to get through that as well, and just was fascinated. and another, what was the guy in York? Rob somebody.
Oh, Rob, yeah, Rob Ledley, yeah.
Yes, and I remember going to him, and we did this sort of little group session, and I was always my question was, can we do the postures after Navasana? How do you do those postures?
Yeah, how do you do those? Yeah.
And and also having less Monday. It was Monday lunchtime. I used to come with a friend Dave Hiley, and we used to come
Dave
with Liz did a sort of Monday class.
Yes, she did, didn't she?
And I distinctly remember just doing this class and trying to do some full bend, and she looked at me and she went, "You're really stiff." Quite stiff.
Not anymore.
Honestly, I've lost my body type. I've got a good body type for some things, but my initial, I look at pictures of myself 15 years ago, and obviously I look different, but physically my body hasn't changed externally that much. But I couldn't touch my shins or.
Oh, okay,
Amazing
really?
how it's an internal shift, because externally, I don't. You might get a little bit of definition from Ashtanga maybe, but I always kind of look similar, and it's an interesting journey. And and then did a 1 week teacher training around that time a few years later with David Svensson up in Edinburgh, and having those memories a few years later of starting to go to Mysore, because like Dave was saying, there's quite a few. That's how I met Yitka. There's quite a few contemporary dancers.
Yeah, they came. That's right. Yeah.
Because there's obviously that link between. Sorry, that was a bit of a flurry of random thoughts.
No, that's fine. No, it's nice. It's nice. And do you remember any workshops that you came to with particular teachers?
I remember doing one talking about this. Was it Granville from Manchester?
Yeah, Granville. Yeah. He's still going strong.
I remember distinctly. This is again about 13, 14 years ago. Him trying to put me into Baddha Padmasana, the bound lotus, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get my hands around to reach my feet. And I remember that. It's funny when you look back at things now that don't seem that a big a deal. That we all went through that, in terms of those postures. Yeah, I remember that. I remember Granville, and I remember Matt Ryan doing a few Mysore sort of things. Do you remember that, Dave? Did you
workshops? Matt,
he used to do Saturday mornings, didn't he?
He was doing them monthly, wasn't he, for a while? And then he did some. I think he did like a second series workshop, and quite early on, like when Pete was still there. So that was really early on. That was like in the first year, basically.
Yeah.
And I knew Matt from going over to workshops in Manchester with like John Scott. And maybe David Svensson actually, but Matt used to put on like Ashtanga workshops, like day ones, and I went over to a few with John Scott. So that's how I kind of got to know Matt. Me and Matt have probably been teaching probably the same amount of time, I think. Cool. So
there's been a few great ones at the Yoga Space. Tim Feldman.
I did that with you, Dave. I remember that. Yeah, it was great. Really good.
Yeah, I'm going to have a chat with Tim, actually. He said he's up for a chat, so that'll be really nice to speak to him, how he's getting on.
He was really great. Eddie Stern.
Yeah.
Was incredible. And then Manju.
Did you come to Manju?
I said that must have been
the second time, not the first one. I think it was the second time he was here.
Yeah.
But that was cool. That was interesting. Just really great energy, in the room.
Yeah, you can't beat it, can you, when you've just got like a big group of people and they're all kind of, we're just going through the practice together, and you've got like a visiting teacher that you just get like a really nice buzz, don't you, and energy. I really miss that, actually. I do miss that. Yeah.
And that, it's a big space, the yoga space, but to see it fall on those, when the mats are crammed up in that space was amazing. Energy, wasn't it? Just to have that, everybody doing that together, and it was like sold out, and it was packed.
Yeah. When will those days come back?
They'll come back, I'm sure. Yeah.
And then you both, you're yoga teachers, but you're also musicians. So, how's that been this last year? Because you've been kind of double hit, really, because, gigs have stopped. And
you go, Dave, if you want.
It's been hard, really hard. I was actually on tour in France whenever the first kind of big lockdown happened in March of last year. And yeah, so I think we done like an 8 or 9 day tour or something like that, all over and gradually, like day by day, there was more news of COVID. And we were like, oh, God, well, what's going on? It was really bizarre. We were traveling around France, like in this van and going, gig to gig. And then it was getting more intense in like various different places, closing and stuff. And then on the last day of the gig, it was like, you're not allowed to more than 50 people together and stuff like this. We were in a place called Monoble in the south of France. And then it was like it was shut down, and I was thinking, oh, I might not get home, but luckily enough, my flight was still there. But the next day, traveling back, I can't remember where I flew from, but it was via Charles de Gaulle in Paris, and I remember just like walking around the airport, and it was like totally empty, or like so empty in comparison to what like. And it was just like totally bizarre. And then got back home luckily, and then from then it's just been like a thing of gigs just disappearing essentially.
So weird, isn't it?
I've had little bits and bobs of stuff. I did some other stuff in France last year, kind of throughout COVID, and I found it really hard, like really difficult, because traveling, I've always enjoyed the traveling aspect of it. No, you've got to wear a mask the whole time. There's just this tension and stress in airports because everyone's really uptight. And so like it's it really is a completely different world at the minute of what it used to be. And then the place where we were, we had this residency, and you always had to wear your mask every time you were outside of the place we were rehearsing. And in France, they were enforcing that you have to wear masks on the street as well.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So yeah, it's just this kind of constant feeling of like, being, I don't know, a bit kind of claustrophobic and whatever. And it was, really stressful. And then obviously you've got a quarantine when you come back. So, and then I was back here, and, for 14 days, you can't leave the house or whatever. You can't leave the kids to school, and there's a lot of stress on the household and what have you. So yeah, it's been tough just losing all of that, and then losing the thing of making music with other people. It's such a huge part of what me and Jason do, and it's done whatever we've spent 20 odd more years doing that and devoting your life to making music as a kind of sharing and expression and creative outlet and stuff. And then when you kind of lose that, it was really hard to handle. And then the real kick in the teeth was kind of being told by the government to retrain. I was like, what? That was horrible.
Yeah,
kind of
terrible.
Mass feeling of like what you do is not valued. I really felt that was awful for that campaign that they had of the dancer saying like Fatima is going to retrain in cyberspace or something like that, and everyone was just like, oh my God. Yeah, I just couldn't believe that the way that the government have looked at the kind of cultural aspects of how important that is in the UK, and not really given any support to it and stuff.
No.
It's been tough.
And I've always felt that musicians are undervalued anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of years and years that you dedicate to training and practice, and it's just, and then you get a little gig and you don't even get paid very much. It's just it's terrible, really. So for that to happen, and like Zoom doesn't really work, does it, for like having a jam? You can't really do it, so it's just
I've seen some really good sort of things done afterwards, big bands playing in little boxes, and it sounds amazing, but they obviously can't, it's not live.
No, they all have to record it separately,
that's done, and someone's
don't
gone through
they?
a couple of literally layering that up instrument with instrument, and they can all hear it and then do their thing. But yeah, it's just this it's not the same. I mean, maybe in 10 years time when the technology's there to synchronize, but not at the moment. Having said that, look, I mean, it's thank God for Zoom. I think this had happened 10 years ago. It would be really quite different,
I know it would,
technology,
wouldn't it?
maybe internet
Definitely.
speeds, to have conversations like this and be able to do, group things online. So you're grateful for what we've got, but Yeah, same as Dave as well. It's been a pretty quiet year, and that's what I miss the most. Yeah, it's obviously the money, the financial side of it, but it's just sort of, it was a social thing, wasn't it? Meeting people and playing music together. It's just, yeah, I miss that. It's a tricky one, isn't it? And
Yeah,
it'll come back, I'm sure. So
you know, it's kind of similar to the yoga thing. It's like, you know, the community, the sangha that's there of a community getting together and sharing a practice is a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? The energy of, if it's a group of people making music and sharing energy, or a group of people practicing and moving, the collective energy is really joyous. And then, yeah, I like massively miss that. I missed that before COVID because I haven't been able to
Yeah, sure,
but
yeah.
you know, that, yeah, that thing of being able to get together and do something collectively is really huge. And I think, you know,
It's huge.
people miss that, of like going to live music, being able to dance, practicing yoga, whatever.
Oh, I know.
At the minute,
Yeah, I had the when I had the cellist in to record a class, and then I did like a live class with him. First time, like, he just played in the studio, you know, and I just cried, because I was like, I haven't heard any live music like for so long, and I could cry about it now actually. And it was just like, oh, he's so talented, and he's like, you know, 22 or something, you know what I mean? And I was just like, wow. And just to hear it in that space, and I was just thinking about all the times when we have had live music, you know, in there, and yoga, and how special it is, you know. And yeah, I know it will come back, but it's just like, oh, you know, yeah. It's, I mean, gosh, like that first gig that anybody goes to, do you know what I mean? It's going to be so powerful, isn't it? It's just, it's just mind blowing, really. Yeah.
So if it comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you both still managing to teach? I know you're teaching some piano online, aren't you, Jason? As well as
yeah.
some
I mean, I thought
yoga.
I'm not doing any gigs. 10 months later, you know, just a little bit late, but yeah, I thought because getting ready and seeing that the yoga works okay online, it's amazing. It's obviously not quite the same, but it's still, so feeling grateful that that's sort of carried on. I think if that had stopped as well, I think I'd be kind of, I'd probably be out doing something else at this point. But and then suddenly thinking, yeah, all of that equipment and the cameras and stuff, just, yeah, I've got a few more piano pupils online as well, and yeah, it's different. It's in a different way to yoga. Yoga's quite dynamic, and I think online you're sort of doing a lot more, and you kind of constantly doing stuff. Teaching piano is just sort of sitting behind a keyboard and just kind of, yeah, doing that more, you know, one-to-one thing. I did a couple of one-to-ones actually. A few people got in touch over the summer, yoga one-to-ones. I've never done, ironically, a real one-to-one with anybody. But over Zoom, I did a few, and it was interesting. It's kind of, yeah,
they're quite intense
camera angles, aren't you? And it's too close, or I can't see your head, or I can't see your feet. You just, but it was a good experience, yeah. So it's nice to be able to do stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is a blessing, isn't it, to have like this Zoom, you know, to be able to continue to teach. So I've been teaching from my shed in my back garden.
Was that where you do it? So you've moved to teach there to carry on your, of course, because you're not going to the.
Obviously the kid, you know, my kids go to bed at about 7 o'clock, and I teach 7 o'clock at night. So I kind of had nowhere to do it. I couldn't really do it in the house because it'd be too loud or whatever. So yeah, luckily we had this kind of shed that was converted into sort of like a little summer, you know, house type thing. And yeah, it's just big enough, you know, it's big enough for a yoga mat. I kind of have a step ladder with a laptop stand, and then the laptop on the top in the corner of the room, and a light behind it. But so I leave my kitchen and go to the shed to teach. But yeah, it's been good. You know, at first I was kind of like, probably all of us were, well, not you, Nichi, you can teach online for a while, but I was quite apprehensive about like how to do it, you know, but the best way is like just dive in and start. And the thing that I've found is that you just end up talking loads, like all the time. Normally in a class, I try not to, maybe don't do like a massive amount of talking, but I guess now you have to talk about all of the poses or guide. You have quite a lot of people. I do a mixture of sort of demonstrating some and then like looking, at the screen to tell oral cues or whatever. But it's good. It's been really good. I actually think there's definitely some good points about teaching yoga online, in terms of it. You can really encourage the practitioner to take ownership of it, so that it's their practice, they're making the decisions about how far they go into the poses, all of that sort of thing. I'm really, that's my main kind of aim as a teacher now, is to develop the students' own ownership of the practice, so that it's not me telling them what to do. I'm kind of giving them a rough kind of
suggestions,
suggestions, and because we're all completely different, each and everybody is going to feel every single posture differently, so like the sooner you can get to understand that, the more you're going to have a chance of experiencing yoga, rather than looking at it as an external thing. And if you're in a group class, everyone, no matter what, people get caught up in the competitive the thing, or I'm more bendy, or blah, blah, blah. And you really you're getting further and further and further away from experiencing yoga, I think.
Joey said that actually. He said that quite a few people who do the Mysore actually like it more because they feel it's less competitive and they can kind of be more in their own space. Whereas if they were in the room with other people, they're like comparing themselves and, and not feeling adequate enough, or, it kind of stimulates that competitive spirit, ego. So, that was quite interesting to hear that.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes as well. I suspect this will kind of, even after COVID, will probably run on. There'll probably be a mixture. And I suppose it is, you can always video the class you're doing and you can have that with people as well, I guess.
No, it's definitely going to stay blended, I think, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Whether we'll do it every single class or not, whether we'll record live stream every single class, I'm not sure.
No, I'm sure when it gets back to normal, not every class, but the option to do maybe a couple a week.
Definitely, because we've got people joining from all over now that left Leeds years ago.
Really, it's nice, isn't it? I've got last week I offered some free classes, to try and get more students in or whatever. I've got up, like a post on my yoga Facebook, and then just my personal one, and quite a few of my musician friends I kind of got on. So it's nice that now they're doing it. So like last night I had someone from Italy, someone doing it in a hotel room in Holland, and it was like, it felt really nice,
That's great. That's really cool, isn't it, to bring all those people together?
To share the practice and see, friends that are kind of have done bits and bobs of yoga or whatever, and are now thinking about it as a thing to help people through. I think that's one of the things that this is really, showing with COVID and the pandemic and stuff, is like the impact it's having on everyone's mental health is huge, and so a practice of like yoga, breathing, meditation, whatever, can just give you that bit of space to be able to reset and give you enough kind of energy to go through another day of not doing anything, not leaving the house,
not leaving the house.
But
Groundhog Day. Well, thank you both so much for talking to me today. It's been wonderful to see you and connect and hear your memories, but also hear how you're both getting on. And I hope that when gigs do come back, you're busier than ever and you have lots of opportunities to play, because you're both super, super talented. Both musicians and yoga teachers, and I think that's a really special combination, and the two do go really well together. And you two have always been very dedicated to like practice, both in terms of yoga but also in terms of like your your music and your instrument, which is it's interesting because I think you can just kind of apply yourself to that because you've had years and years of training in it. So thank you so much. It's beautiful to talk to you. And
Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, and happy
maybe
birthday.
when we come out of COVID and, you know, things start to get back to normal, we can have another chat. And
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
thank you. Take
Yeah.
care. Have a lovely day.
Yeah.
Enjoy the snow.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just, I've seen that. I was shocked this morning, but yeah.
I know, it was a surprise. Thank you. See
Yeah,
you.
see you soon. Bye.
Bye.